You don't need a sewing machine to start sewing, and I'm going to prove it to you. Welcome back to Stitch by Stitch, where I teach you how to hand sew. Today, we're going over one of the most basic edge finishing stitches, an overcast stitch. You can use the overcast stitch to finish raw fabric edges, join fabric pieces along the edge, or decorate the edges of your projects. To sew an overcast stitch, you start with doing an anchor stitch on the underside of the fabric. The star here only resembles the starting point of the stitch. Notice how all of these numbers are squared, which means that we're only going to be entering from the back or underside of the paper. We start by inserting the needle from the back at 1, and then going back around and inserting the needle again from the back at 2. Then you're just going to repeat this same pattern throughout the entire stitch. The overcast stitch is an extremely simple stitch. It looks best when stitches are sewn evenly spaced along the edge and the angle of the thread is consistent. The tension you're using is extremely important once you start practicing this stitch on fabric because you want the thread to be snug to the edge without being too tight to cause the fabric to pucker. So it's really important to take your time with the stitch, especially while you're practicing. As you can see, the overcast stitch only uses a single thread to wrap around the edge of the fabric, so it's better to only use this stitch on lighter weight fabrics. At the end of the stitch, you want to finish it off with an anchor stitch on the underside of the fabric, which is again only simulated with the star here. Now that we're done, we can compare the overcast stitch to the answer key here. You'll notice that the front and back look extremely similar, except they're just at slightly different angles. And now we're ready to put the finished example in the pocket here. This workbook is available through the link in my bio or the TikTok shop. There's also a left-handed version of this workbook. The next stitch we're going over is the blanket stitch, another incredibly popular and useful edge finishing stitch, so follow along to learn more.